Welcome back. I'm Dr. Catherine Y. Brown, your host. As you know, I am on a journey to interview 100 people to hear their stories as it relates to pulmonary hypertension. I'm doing this work in honor of my late mother, Roberta Baines Wheeler. Today, I am so excited that we have as our special guest, Holly Szmutko. Welcome, Holly.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here and for sharing your story with all of our viewers around the world.
Of course.
Can you share where you're located at, so where you're from, and also a little bit about yourself on a personal note so they can learn about who is Holly?
Sure. I live in Valparaiso, Indiana. I get all my care in Chicago. Before pulmonary hypertension, I was avid in just walking and doing all kinds of activities, arts, museums, all that kind of stuff. Loved it all. And then I got the pulmonary hypertension and everything stopped. I'm just now starting to get back into things.
All right. So with that being said, when did you hear those two words, pulmonary hypertension?
Well, I had been sick and not feeling good for about two or 3 years. And I just kept getting told it's nothing because it mimics so many other things. Mm-hmm. And then in January of 2019, I was diagnosed with pulmonary arterial hypertension.
Okay. So what was that journey like? So I'm almost hearing you say it's at least 2 years.
Before
you got
I got diagnosed. And then 2 years waiting for transplant because I went downhill pretty quick.
So can you share about what that journey was like? So you got the diagnosis. Did they start a treatment regimen? What did that look like for you?
They started a treatment regimen of Revatio. And I think it was just Revatio at first. And that wasn't doing anything. And then it was Revatio and something else. Like I've been on several. I've been on Adempus, Opsumit, Remodulin, all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just kept progressing. Like it, none of the drugs are meant to make you better because it's a terminal illness, but they're supposed to help kind of suppress everything so that you can be stable. That's right. And none of that was happening for me. So they had a talk with me about getting put on the transplant list. And I said, absolutely. I said, I'm young. I don't, and I got put on the transplant list. I was on the transplant list for 9.5 weeks and I got transplanted. That's a roller coaster too, in itself. I've had so many ups and downs. It's been a little over a year. And I'm finally to a point where I'm doing well.
So what is the transplant journey like in terms of making sure you qualify? Because most people do not know that journey.
You get scored based on the things that you have done and your lung capacity and your lung function. So you have to be diligent about your yearly exams and, once you hit a certain age of colonoscopies and, all kinds of stuff like that. Whatever you don't have done, you have to have done before you can get listed. And they'll give you a list of things and talk to you about it. And then it's a lot of work. Like I had pretty much everything done because I keep up with all my stuff. And I had pretty much everything done up until the point of, I don't know, a couple lung tests. Mm-hmm. And I was in the hospital and they decided to list me. So I got lucky and got through those in the hospital. And then my case was presented to the lung transplant team and it was scored. And I forget what my score was, but it was a lung allocation score. And that put me on the list at a pretty high
score,
candidate because like I said, I was losing life every day, mm-hmm. especially towards the end.
So once you got the transplant, what was that journey like for you?
It's hard. So I kept doing physical therapy prior to transplant to try to keep my body as strong as I could. And no matter how prepared you are, you're not prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So I had wanted to stand up right after transplant, after they took me off the ventilator, and my legs were like jello.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to learn, I guess it's like weird to say, but you have to learn how to breathe with someone else's lungs.
Yeah.
So the first day I was off the ventilator, everything went okay. Second day I was off the ventilator, it started hitting me that you don't have your own lungs. And it seemed like it was harder to breathe just because I was getting used to it.
Mm-hmm.
But my saturations and everything were fine. And then they kept me on oxygen just at a really low 1-to-2 ratio, you know, just because I was freaking out without it because I had been on it for so long.
Wow.
But within a day or two, I was able to get off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? I'm almost 15 months out from the double lung transplant. And I still feel like, oh, where's my oxygen? Where's my pump? I can carry a purse now because I don't have to carry all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But it comes, you know, with its own set of issues. You can have this, you can have this, can't have that, can't have that. With
Mhm.
COVID going on, you got to be careful of that.
Yeah, it's a journey. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a beautiful thing. And I also want people that are watching to know the importance of organ donation.
Yes,
And so we don't always have that conversation, but when we meet a Holly, I think people might be able to understand why it's so important and what those organs could mean for someone else. And I don't know, you know, if you want to speak to that, but I've seen people when they get that, it used to be the pagers or that phone call that is time, and they have
it's
that
just a
bag,
phone call now.
right? And this bag is by that front door, and they're ready. They have that. Did you have your bag ready and you were ready to go? And it was
I spent so much time in the hospital, bag was always ready
it was
anyways.
always ready.
When I got the call, I added some extra things to the bag because I knew I wasn't coming home for a while
Yeah.
because I live an hour and a half away from the facility. So they required me to stay at a hotel once I was discharged that was literally right across the street.
That
But
makes
I did great. I did really great right after. For the first 6 months, everything was smooth sailing. I was really sick from the anti-rejection meds, but that eventually went away. And then I started having issues. My sternum was having issues, so they had to put a plate to hold it together. Um, I was having reactions to the meds. I was sick. I was starting to go back in the hospital again. And the first year is the hardest. If you can get through that first year when everything is happening to you,
Yeah.
you can make it. Because just last week, I joined Taekwondo.
Holly!
I'm riding a bike, not in this humidity though, but yeah, you have to want it though. You have to follow the regimen. If you don't want to follow the regimen, it does nothing to help you, you know? I was in rejection for a while and I went through the process to fix that. There's just so many variables that can happen. And you just have to be ready for them. And you just have to fight them out.
I love it. So our mantra that we started when my mother was living is awareness, empowerment, and hope. Together, we can make a difference. Can you maybe speak to that as you hear those words? Because I hear it all through your journey.
Yes, I actually had a fundraiser. And because it was COVID, I couldn't have it inside so people couldn't come and see me. It was an online fundraiser. So I enlisted the help of Help Hope Live, which is a not-for-profit, and they make sure the money goes where it's supposed to go,
Yeah.
which a lot of people set up their fundraising through, what is it, GoFundMe?
Mhm.
And then they can use the money, they can pull it out for anything. And I think I got the donations that I needed because I went this route. I mean, I had to turn in receipts, I had to turn in, gas expense, hotel expense, all that. And they just, if I had already paid, I got paid back. Or they would, if I would submit a estimate, they would go ahead and pay, but they pay places directly. And I liked it better that way. That way I didn't have to deal with any of it.
That accountability aspect.
Right. And
Absolutely.
it really made a difference because, you hear a lot of people say, well, who regulates the GoFundMe?
Mhm.
Anybody.
Yeah,
I didn't regulate my money, someone else did.
absolutely.
And it was a non-profit, so I didn't have to pay taxes on it. Whereas GoFundMe, if you go over, I think it's 10,000, you have to pay taxes on it.
Mhm.
It
So
might be a little.
yeah, for those people watching, I do want them to know, like, there are options, if you
Yeah,
need help. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations that are in the community to help. When we do our nonprofit, we do awareness, right, and
right.
education. But there are some that can assist you, like with certain expenses, as in
Right.
Holly's cases. There are some that help you with medication costs. So there
Yep.
are resources. So I definitely want to say that. And then for those who are part of these nonprofits, keep sharing your work and the work that you're doing so that the
Absolutely.
community can know about you. I think that none of us should be a secret from anyone. We should all
Nope.
know, especially because our pulmonary hypertension community is such a smaller community in comparison to some of the other ones.
Right.
I want people to know, hey, there's a KYB Leadership Academy, or there's a RBWPH awareness group, or like you said, the Help Hope Live. Like, it's so many organizations, and we all just need to be aware of what each other does because we're doing different things.
Right.
And I think it makes us a beautiful kaleidoscope. But I do want people to hear your heart on that, is that if you need help, identify the best way. And sometimes going through that nonprofit is going to be a great way because people know that there's some regulation and some accountability.
Yes. And I did, my Facebook journey is full of ups and downs and honesty.
Yeah,
So, when somebody says, hey, so and so needs a double lung transplant, can I ask, can you talk to them? I say, you tell them if they want somebody that's honest, sure.
absolutely.
But if they want somebody that's going to sugarcoat it, I'm not their person.
Yeah. And do you know what, Holly? We need the Hollies of the world, because as you said, you can't lose hope, but you also said you have to want it. And there's some
Yes.
work that's going to go in it. So you got a diagnosis, but you advocated for yourself. And
I
then when
did.
you information, you acted upon that information. And then you're doing the lifestyle changes that you need to do so that you can maintain the gift of life, the gift of
Right.
those lungs that you've been given. And so, to your point, it sometimes you need that, what is the word they say sometimes, the tough love to understand,
Yes.
like, this journey is not for the faint. You have to
Right.
be willing to get up every day and fight. And each day might look different, but you can do it if you don't give up. You can't give up hope. You
No,
have to
you can't.
just keep hoping.
And the people that don't support you with that, you just have to say goodbye.
Absolutely. People don't support. I agree. Holly, you said it best. Sometimes you have to say goodbye. Who did you have to support you on your journey?
My mom is my caregiver. My aunt and uncle helped out a lot with rides to and from. I've had 3 or 4 friends that I rely on. I try to keep it little
Mhm.
because the bigger you get the circle, the harder it is to know who's doing what.
Ah,
I do have a really large following and a big circle, and I update, like I said, on social media and things. But my super close knit is mostly family and a few couple friends.
I love it. So I have asked you question after question, right? What do you want to share that I have not asked you? Because I could ask you, because you're such an open book, and
Mhm.
we talked even before we press record. So, but there might be something that you want people who are watching this to hear or know that maybe I haven't asked you.
Yeah, sure. Pulmonary hypertension is super rare. There's not enough information about it out there um, at all. There's like one organization that has all the go-to. The Pulmonary Hypertension Association is really the go-to,
Yeah.
but there's no materials like, there's the breast cancer shirts and breast cancer awareness bracelets, and we don't have that in the PH community, to where you wear something and somebody says, "Oh, can you tell me about that?" Because our ribbon shares another, you know, and also with the organ donation, the ribbon shares with another, I think it's suicide awareness.
Mhm.
So, people will assume, you know, oh, she's got a suicide awareness on, or, there's not a whole lot of awareness out there, and we need to work on doing that. And I've been trying to think of ways to do it, and I've got the ways, I just don't have the tools, you know. And then, like you said, with organ donation, um, there's a stigmata that you go in through the ER for an accident or something, and they're gonna kill you so they can have your organs. And
Yeah.
that's not true, because they don't even know if your organs are gonna match until after you pass. So being an organ donor saves not just one life, but a lot of lives.
Yeah.
I think my donor saved 6 people from other things. I don't know what all, but you could donate kidneys if they're working, livers, corneas. There's so much that goes with organ donation,
Mhm. And I'm
which
glad
is starting to get more publicity.
you raise a valid point, Holly. I don't want people to miss that point. Is we have to educate our community and be knowledgeable in what is actually truth versus what is not truth, right?
Exactly.
Because we all know that taboo story. If you have the organ donations, and I've heard that same story, and I'm all the
Yep.
way in Nashville, Tennessee, right? I used to live in Chicago, but I'm all the way in Nashville. So I've heard the same story. We have to break that stigma that people think that somebody is going to just try to find you and take your life because you're an organ donor.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and they've got to hear the stories of you, how beautiful it is, and how many lives were saved. So that is a beautiful thing.
Well, I reached out to my donor's family. I haven't heard anything back yet. What I do know from them calling me to accept the organ was that my donor had been kept on life support for like 3 or 4 extra days, just so all the family could be there to say their goodbyes.
Wow.
So things like that happen too, but they're not going to call you and say, do you want to accept this organ? Because, you know, being on life support, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Anything could happen even when you're not. I mean, I could walk outside and fall and trip off the step and need an organ,
Yeah.
you know. But I've always been an organ donor. Now it'll be a little bit harder for me because of the double lung, because nothing protects the lungs. Like other organs get protected by other things. the lungs are so susceptible to everything. There's you know, a big list of things that you have to do when you, after you get it. You
Yeah.
can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't, you know, unless you're washing it in your own place and seeing how it's done, you can't do it. And people don't want to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you know, that's why I said in it to win it.
In it to win it. And you said you got to want it and don't give up hope and don't give
Yep.
up fight. Any words of wisdom that you would give me as I continue on the road to 100?
Just keep getting your people. You're going to have so many different stories. It might be overwhelming, but just listen to each one because they're all different and unique.
Yes, they're all different and unique and beautiful. I find sometimes when I'm done, I have to
Yep.
cry for a moment.
Right.
Right. It's so many beautiful stories and patients, caregivers, providers, the community. I'm just so thankful to even be able to listen to their journey. So, Holly, thank you so much for being
You're
here,
welcome.
for continuing your work, educating people, and for being there for people who find out that they're on the transplant list. I think what you are doing is saving lives as well. So for our viewers, you have just met the amazing Holly. Be sure to share this message with other people, because every time you share this message, you help Holly, myself, and others to raise awareness of pulmonary hypertension. And we want people to know those two words. They don't hear it often enough, right? And it's going to take all of us to do that together. So thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day. Until next time, I'm Dr. Catherine Y. Brown, your host, sending you a virtual heart filled with love.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. I'm so honored, so honored.